talk about today should be things that you look forward to because they make your life easier. We do rounding simply because sometimes close is good enough. Sometimes. And sometimes you actually have to. For example, on irrational numbers, sometimes you have to round because you could never do it because it never ends. So actually with the irrational numbers you have to do that. But write down this example because people do get some slightly confused on this. Round, oh look at, they do give us pi. Round 3.14159 2653 Now there's two things they could ask you to do. Okay, they could ask you to round it to the nearest, let's say, 100th, or they could ask you to round it to the second decimal place. And sometimes people get confused on what those things are. Please note that it's too easy for you not to understand, especially this second one. The second decimal place just means the second digit after the decimal. It's the same thing as the 100th place in this case. This is the first digit after the decimal. This is the second decimal place right here. Okay, but remember, in order to round that hundredths or that second decimal place, you must know what the third digit is after the decimal because that's what tells you whether you round or not. Okay, so the first thing, when you see this problem, you should say, oh, my answer is either going to be 3.14 or 3.15. Because when we round, either the number stays the same or it goes up. We never round a number down to the next lower one. In a sense, we are actually, when we round this, we will round it down because we're taking away this, but we don't change that digit to a lower digit. It either stays the same, God bless you, or it goes to the next higher one. Okay, and in this case here, since the digit after the 4 is a 1, okay, that means it stays the same. We don't round up and it's 3.14. What if I asked you to round that same number to the 8th decimal place? To the 8th decimal place, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Guess I need that next number up there. 2, 6, 5, 3. What is that rounded to the 8th decimal place? Samuel?
5. It stays the same.
Okay. 3.1415926 rounded to the 8th decimal place. And again, you've been rounding since you were pretty much whatever. Another example they might have is they'll say round to the nearest whole number. And now that you're very familiar with what whole numbers are, you know whole numbers are not fractions or decimals. So your choices would be something like this. What if I said 7.63 or 8 1/5? Those are my two examples. If I round this one to the nearest whole number, it is going to be, Josh? 8. Because this 6 was more than half. That's what it is. If I round this to the nearest whole number, it's going to be, Taylor?
8.
8 as well, because that fraction is less than a half. How about this one? 799 7/8. Rounded to the nearest whole number. 799 7/8 rounded to the nearest whole number. Ava would be
800.
is 800. Because you have to round up, and when you round up, you add 1 to the 9, which means you add 1 to the 9, which means you add 1 to the 7, which makes it an 8. Questions on that? Because we're sliding ahead to the next topic at hand.